Welcome to the Rising Society podcast. I'm Shane Kennedy.
I'm Nico Galliano, the rejected gentleman.
And this is just going to be a little short 5 or 10 minute thing where we're just going to talk about a couple of things that have happened this week, and then we're getting into ghosts.
Ooh, I like it.
In the next one. So, first thing today, big deal. The attack by that unmanned drone on the Kremlin, which I guess all drones are unmanned technically, if you want to get technical about it. So first of all, so what do you think about that?
Of that little tiny baby drone attack? It was like a little baby firework went off?
Yeah, like a little tiny baby firecracker.
Now, did they shoot that down, or was it just did it pre-explode before its target?
The Russians, they shot it down, and they're pissed.
It looks like it was really close. I haven't been able to see it, but it looks like it was really close to like a government building.
Yes. It was right next to the fucking Kremlin, man.
Oh, it was right on top of it? Why didn't they shoot it down like earlier?
Well, it's probably we really don't know a whole lot about it, but if it was nefarious actors and it was not a staged event, it was probably smuggled into Moscow, and then they probably launched it from another apartment or something in Moscow toward, and the claim is that they were launching it toward the apartment of Vladimir Putin to try to assassinate him. Well, the Russians are furious. The Russians are threatening to launch nukes against Ukraine as a consequence. Who knows if they will? If they do, it's just gonna be the end. We may not end up seeing each other.
Number 8 might be the last.
yeah. Or number 7 may have been the last.
Number 7 might be it.
But the thing is, so there are kind of like two narratives on this. One is that the Russians staged it, that this whole thing is fake. It's fake like a big Broadway musical.
Yeah.
And then the other is that this was an attack by Ukrainian allied forces, which could be by the Ukrainian government or by people connected to the Ukrainian government. It could have been an intelligence an intelligence agency from the West that carried it out. It could have been the Brits. It could have been the Americans. It could have been somebody. But I can tell you this. So NATO put out a statement this afternoon saying that the Russians may have done this to themselves, and they may be using it as an excuse to try to blow up underwater pipelines and cables.
I gotta agree with NATO on this one, dude.
Yeah, because the thing is, Russia has a history of blowing up pipelines and stuff underwater, don't they? That's just
if it's the narrative, dude. I mean, let's be realistic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And NATO affiliated governments, they have no history of blowing up undersea pipelines. Now, do they? So who in the world knows how this is going to end up turning out? I hope things end up calming down after this, and I hope this ends up being a big nothing burger. But there is something very strange about it because the U.S. media is not really reporting on it. No, I mean, if there's an unmanned drone that got blown up over like U.S. airspace anywhere, like even over like Iowa or somewhere like that, it would be the headline all over. Like you talk about these Chinese
balloons for a fucking week.
Yeah,
they're just flying over.
Yeah,
us.
like they had on an autistic fixation on it, and the thing is with the U.S. media is just saying, well, there's nothing to see here. This really isn't that big of a deal. A drone over the capital of a country is really not that big of a deal. The Russians are making much ado about nothing, which, yeah, I don't know. I've got a suspicion that NATO or someone NATO affiliated had something to do with this, but who knows?
Dude, it is interesting. I didn't realize when you told the story originally, I didn't realize how close it was to the actual. Like I said, I just got out of work today, and this happened. This happened earlier. Well, I guess it was yesterday, right? Technically.
Well, it happened on May. The morning of May the 3rd.
So
in the West. Which I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that would end up being.
Wow, man, it goes to show. Yeah, we're really showing education there, huh? Yeah. So, anyways, I just heard about it today. I literally got to see a headline. I didn't get to read the article or anything, so I'm completely in the dark. But I am going to say this: I know we're making fun of the UN because obviously that seems like a ridiculous claim. I don't think that
NATO. You mean?
I'm sorry. What did I say? The UN? Mm-hmm. Yeah, NATO. I do think that it is possible that the Russians could have done it to themselves not for those reasons. I think the narrative right now is on the world stage for most countries in the Western Hemisphere is that the Russians are so evil. But if they can make it look like, we're trying to use assassination tactics, which we've been known to do, or make terrorist cells, if you will, or fractions, which we've been known to do. But even if it's, I could see it going either way. But
well, we see. I guess the thing that puts it over to the side that it was a NATO affiliated or pro-Ukrainian group that was behind this is this has all the same vibes of the Nord Stream pipeline explosions where remember at first they said, oh, this was a Russian false flag attack where they attacked themselves and they're going to try to use this as an excuse to launch military campaigns throughout Ukraine to try to justify more destruction and stuff. Well, it didn't quite turn out to be that way. There is no, as far as Nord Stream goes, there's no settled conclusion on it because all the NATO countries have torpedoed the UN, or they prohibited the UN from doing an investigation into it. But I can tell you this: the convincing side of that argument is that Russia didn't do it, and the actors behind it were probably NATO affiliated. And so I guess all I'm saying is this: just in light of that recent history, this kind of has very, very similar vibes.
It's almost like the same, like you said, same chorus. It's almost like, I know the song, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been played before.
Yeah, I've heard this before, and it's like copyright violation.
Like Vanilla Ice.
Yeah,
exactly, dude.
So let's shift gears and talk about Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman. They just raised interest rates 0.25% today.
Yep.
And remember, the whole reason that they're raising interest rates and making it more expensive for common people to borrow money, like to buy homes, buy vehicles, whatever.
Try to siphon up the money.
Is they're trying to sop up excess money, right? So it's just ironic that about a month ago or something they bailed out that Silicon Valley Bank and printed up a whole buttload of dollars to do that, and that was, I believe, the biggest bailout in American history. Silicon Valley Bank a month ago, wasn't it?
Correct, right?
I think
because it was the 16th biggest bank.
Yeah, well, and I think like the 16th biggest bank, but I think it was the biggest bailout in American history. And then and the Fed printed up a whole bunch of money to try to save that bank and everything, and they did. Then this First Republic Bank, they did the same thing.
Second biggest bailout, right?
Second biggest bailout, massive bank. And the interesting thing is Silicon Valley Bank was based in Silicon Valley in Northern California and San Francisco.
Yeah.
And where is First Republic Bank based at?
Oh, I don't know.
Same place, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Man, look at that.
Yeah. So all the same people that financially control the Biden administration, and it's not, and I'm not saying that those people don't have a lot of influence in the Republican Party, because they certainly do.
Of course.
But they've got the Biden administration on a short leash.
Right, but it's short and curlies, dude.
Yeah,
and of course. They're the ones that campaigned it, right?
Exactly. So
funded it.
Sorry. So, I think it's very unfair for the Federal Reserve and for the federal government to demand that poor and working class people pay more in interest to get loans, arguing that they have to sop up all this extra money, which they do. And then at the same time, when it comes time for these super wealthy people to have to pay the piper and to have to tighten up their belt buckle, they're bailing them out. They're essentially the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. They insure bank deposits up to $250,000.
Yes.
And this is just a shot from the hip here, but your average working class person doesn't have over $250,000 in a single bank account.
I think that would put you in the top 1% of people in the country, literally.
Yeah, exactly. So
people don't believe that number, man.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, all this money that the federal government has printed to bail out wealthy people that had these bank accounts, they're bailing out people that had like $50 million in their bank account. They're bailing out people that had $20 million in their bank account, $150 million in a bank account, which all those people had to do was just have multiple bank accounts with no more than $250,000 in them, and they would have been covered. But because they were stupid and lazy, the rest of us have to pay the price, and they're going to have to raise interest rates even more to make up for this extra money that they printed. The whole thing, it's unfair.
It's another tax on your middle and poor class.
Exactly.
Man. That's all it is.
And that's the thing. It's just screwing them over.
They took bad risk, and now we have to bail them out.
Yep. And it sucks. It's completely unfair.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
And they're gonna say that of course it's gonna come from the rich, right? That's where they're gonna say that they're going to get the funds, and then they'll allocate them out to bailing out the banks or repaying, bailing out the banks. But it always shit rolls downhill. It always funnels down to us, man.
Yeah.
It's always the middle class and the poor that suffer off these things. It's never the rich. I don't know. It's wild.
Well, so those were the two big things. Oh, and Robert Kennedy Jr. today, he just
your guy.
Yeah. Well, he's not my guy, but
he's your guy.
But listen, I will happily vote for the man.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he just called out Bill Gates and Al Gore and all these people that are pushing for carbon credits and for working class people to have to pay more for electricity and stuff like that, and to try to get poor and working class people to eat bugs and all this stuff. He just called them out as being scammers.
That's what they are, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that they are, because what Robert Kennedy Jr. Has said is, if you want to look at what a real environmentalist looks like, it's Robert Kennedy Jr. Do I agree with the guy and everything? No. But the thing is, he has put his time and money where his mouth is, as far as he has gone all over the country and even gone all over the world and worked to spearhead projects to clean up the local environments from pollution. That's what good environmentalism is, and frankly, we need that, you know. But the thing is the thing we don't need are people that are trying to create these like carbon swap and carbon trading markets that are like stock markets for just trading around carbon credits. Well, it's insane.
That's just it. It's bullshit, right? Yeah. So in capitalism, the beautiful thing about it is that if you see demand for a certain thing, you go and you fill that demand, and you're rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
Well, they don't see a demand; they create a demand, and the demand is by force.
Yeah.
So if they can make a demand out of, if you use this, which of course everyone does, if you use X, then you're going to have Z or Y, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, of course, they just make up some bullshit thing that no one can really measure. They say they do, but it's not tangible. It's just pulling it out of the ether or their ass, and they go, well, here you go, and here's what you owe. So then they take something real from you, which is, your money, because that's your time. That's where you've invested it to go buy other stuff that you actually need. Dude, they've done this time and time again. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant.
And you see, last thing I want to say, and this is something maybe we could have a conversation about some other time, but I think the whole reason that this whole Western culture is so anti-religion, and I guess I'd say not as anti-religion as they are pro-atheism, is for atheists, the only drive to do anything is purely for economic benefit. Purely.
I agree.
If you have a religious population, it's really difficult for central planners to predict what behaviors are going to be desirable by people, because it's not only the financial incentive that's driving behavior, it's also spiritual stuff. Mm-hmm. It's people going to church to receive the Blessed Sacrament. It's people going, especially in times their religions will tell them you need to go and you need to be charitable, take care of the poor, take care of your community, be invested in it and everything. And I think that's exactly what our central planners do not want, is a population, because then you've got too many different incentive structures for them to try to predict. And what they want is to try to compress everyone to purely the raw economic level. And then once you have everyone making their life decisions purely and only based upon economics, then you can control them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. So okay. All right. So next we're going to talk about ghosts. Ooh, right?
I do. This is the topic I've been looking forward to, man.
Yeah, me too. All right, so that's it for talking about like the headlines and stuff. So we're going to talk about ghosts next. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.